stop spending money to find strangers. That philosophy doesn't make sense. Harvard Business Review did a study, and acquiring a new customer costs 5 to 25 times more than keeping an existing one. And then you have a 60 to 70% chance of selling to an existing customer rather than 5 to 20% on a brand new person.
Nathan, I work with a lot of companies and I see them spending money like crazy on ads and God knows what, but they don't focus on their current network. They're not utilizing the current network that they've worked so hard to build all of these years. Why? Why is it?
Because it's not as exciting. Everyone likes the new thing, and finding new leads for a business is the message that every marketing agency and everything that says out there is what you should do. And so that's why they don't do the simple thing, which is going back to their old network, the context that they've already had. And that's one mindset thing shift that has to change for them to be able to utilize their network the right way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like lead gen in some ways is like a cult. Everybody gets inundated and brainwashed that you should go after new strangers. Now there's some validity, like there's some truth in every lie kind of thing. There's some validity to that.
Yes.
At some point you do need outbound or inbound tactics that will drive new eyeballs. But there, from my experience, there's so much rich, meat on the bone to go after in your current network. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. This is what you do. You help clients with this. So let's unpack this. Let's talk about why companies don't utilize their current network. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
First thing is just the priority to find new lead acquisition is that it's also part of their old strategy. Like as a new business, that's what they did to get business. So they've never shifted away to say, oh, maybe we should look at something different. So that's one of the first things that I see is that they just haven't adapted that mindset to be like, oh, we need a new strategy to get to the people that we've already talked to.
Yeah, that's true. And so it's a mindset thing is what you're saying.
That is one. And doesn't it usually come down to a mindset for a lot of things? Like,
yeah,
we all know the thing that we should, like coaching and marketing in a lot of different ways is not usually saying something that is new.
Yeah.
It's saying something that's old just at the right time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was at a marketing conference last year and the front of room raised his hand. There's all marketing directors. And he said, who in the room is asking for referrals? And no one's hand went up, including mine. And I felt I just felt so bad. Like, why am I not asking for referrals? That's the easiest, like simplest, dumbest thing I should be doing. I should have that system in my business. And then he raised his hand too. He raised his hand and said, well, funny enough, I'm not actually doing it either. And I just think that there's some kind of weird psychology trick that's been played on us as business owners, leaders, and growth oriented people, that our natural inclination is to go to the new strangers and try to spend money and time and effort on that and not our current network when there's so much to be found just talking to our current client and saying, hey, who do you know?
I mean, 100%. And actually that phrase that you just used is one of the things that I talk about a lot is stop spending money to find strangers. Like that philosophy doesn't make sense. And just so we can throw some statistics, like we actually know what we're talking about on this side. Harvard Business Review did a study, and acquiring a new customer costs 5 to 25 times more than keeping an existing one. And then on existing customers or existing networks, you have a 60 to 70% chance of selling to an existing customer rather than 5 to 20% on a brand new person.
Yeah.
Like from a statistics standpoint, we're already looking at like that doesn't make sense of the activity that we're trying to do. But that's not the statistic that everyone's throwing at us and that we see out in the business world.
Yeah, right. And yet here we are still doing, it's like the knowledge is there. Everyone knows. Like everybody in that room at the conference knew they should be asking for referrals. But why are we sitting at a conference learning new ideas when we haven't even done the one thing? It's like raising kids. And it's like, I want to go do this thing. Well, you haven't even made your bed. Your room is a complete wreck. Let's start there. That's how I feel. I feel like a kid.
Literally, that was my discussion with my kids yesterday. We created an app for value chores, and
Yeah.
they're like, they instantly went to those things so they can make some money.
Uh huh.
And I'm like, well, wait. You can't even do that until you've
Yeah.
done the stuff that you have to do just to live in this household.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So your first kind of piece of advice is to stop prioritizing new leads over existing business. Anything more to say about that?
And I'll kind of transition over to the second phase of that, but I would
Okay.
say don't prioritize new lead acquisition until you have a structured follow-up system for the leads that you already have.
Yes. Okay.
Because as you mentioned, we're not telling everyone, oh, don't go find new leads. Like, stop that activity, stop advertising, stop doing those things.
Yeah.
We're not being as direct on that side. Those are still good strategies,
Right.
but they don't make any sense to do unless you've exhausted the current network of leads and prospects and clients
Yeah.
and referral opportunities and things like that you already have that literally cost $0 to be able
Mhm.
to implement.
Yeah, agreed. I think going back to your first point of or your answer of everything being more sexy, it's like it's more sexy to go to a conference and like waste 3 days of your time to maybe meet a couple people that might turn into something. Um, and again, not most people not having a structure or system around that either. Versus doing the thing that you're saying here and maybe taking, a few hours to sit and build a structure around this activity and this behavior. I think it's so funny. I mean, and I'm included in that crowd. I mean, I feel like I'm the cobbler's son who has no shoes, you know,
Yep.
where I'm the cobbler and my son is walking around with no shoes. Um, because, I'm sitting there at the conference and looking around the room thinking I should have this together because it's kind of part of what we do for our clients. We help our, CEOs run podcasts
Oh,
and part of what we're doing is getting them access to guests that are high value relationships or partners, prospects, and that kind of thing. And we have systems around all of that because if we didn't, then we wouldn't be able to do this every single day for our clients.
yep.
But here I am not doing it for myself. What's up with that?
Oh, I mean, guilty as charged. I mean, I'm not. It's not like I'm going to pretend like we do that so well for other people, and then we're looking at our business. Why aren't we growing the way that we should? Or
Yeah,
why are the businesses that we're working with
yeah,
growing faster than our own? And it's
exactly.
just because of that we're prioritizing the same mindset of it's much more exciting for us to help somebody else grow than to turn inward and be like, you know what, we need to spend the time on our business to make sure that we're growing and creating those same follow-up systems and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's deep.
I,
That's pretty deep right there. You
I
know?
mean, we can spend literally hours just unpacking that philosophy and the idea. But I think for everyone that's listening, if you're hearing that and you feel convicted that like, oh, that's me too, just allocate an hour the next day to say, what do I need to do in my business to set up my own follow-up system on existing leads, and run it by Chat GPT or whatever your favorite
Yeah,
LLM is, and start making a plan for that. Because you'll realize it's not hard to make a plan for that, to build your follow-up.
yeah.
And I mean, I'll lead into that again. We'll
Do
show
you
a
do
simple
you have
3-step
any
process.
well, that's what I'll ask you, like, let's take a little side step for a second. Do you
Yep.
have any, like, practical advice to get them started?
Yes. So there are literally 3 steps to building a good follow-up system. Let's not overcomplicate this. So number 1 is pick your trigger. And what we mean by trigger, because to take a step back, the end goal of what we're trying to accomplish is, yes, we can set up a manual follow-up process, but what we're talking about here is setting up an automated follow-up process, because if we keep it manual, we're not going to stay consistent with it. We'll do it really well for a little while and then we'll drop off. I mean, I'm guilty of done that. Like, I can literally look through my career and be like, oh, this is when everything worked and this is when it didn't.
Yep.
um, and so what we're trying to create is an automation that will continue to follow. So number 1 is pick your trigger, which is the event that is going to happen
Mhm.
that will put the contact into the series of actions that you want to see next.
Okay. So that would be like, I met someone at a conference
Yep.
and, we exchanged information. We had a great connection and we thought there's some opportunity there. Then I take the next step.
Yep. And in this case, we're thinking of from the triggers of what's going to happen in our automation platform or our
Yes.
CRM. For the record, this doesn't work if you're still using a spreadsheet. Okay.
Yes. Unless
Or
you're
a
really
Rolodex
good
for
at
that
code.
matter. Yes. So the trigger in this case would be when I add the contact to the system, or when I add a tag to that contact, or when the contact fills out a form, things like that, that would trigger that event to happen
Mhm.
so that then they get put into the next workflow so that you don't have to do that manually.
Yeah.
The
Now,
next,
okay, well, let me ask you this then.
yep,
I think knowing myself, I've tried to do that, and it's it's a big step to go from thinking I know what the process is to automating it. So, would you recommend, and I'm asking this because I'm trying to work on this myself, maybe taking a baby step in between and either outlining it or actually working through it manually and then automating that?
100%. So you're absolutely, we're jumping to the conclusion that we're already talking about automation. We're
Oh,
getting to the end
gotcha.
goal, but you're,
Yeah.
so literally I did a live Q&A yesterday. I do it every single week. And one of the things that was asked was someone building like they wanted to build a simple automation.
Mhm.
And, but they didn't have the exact steps in mind of what they wanted to do. I said, so let's pause before we even discuss. I want you to go on a sheet of paper, write down your process of what are you currently doing manually that you want to automate.
Mhm.
And then you box that out and you figure out, again, this is the action that's happening that's going to cause this next thing. So that's the trigger. And then I want this email to go out, this text to go out, this phone call to go out. I want this person to be reminded about something. And then you map out all of that. And then you can go in and automate that
Yeah,
process.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because in the process of doing it, you might find that you don't need the text or you need 2 texts or, you gotta really, like, live that out so you can feel it happening in real time.
Yes, 100%. And there's two ways to go about doing that is what I tell everyone is one, when you're actually doing the thing, because there's things that you're doing on a regular basis manually that you're like, I could probably automate this, is
Mhm.
just taking a moment during that time to pause and say, okay, let me write that down. Like, what is my actual process of what I'm
Yes.
doing right now?
Yes.
And then the second one is to be, if you're intimate and that intimately aware of your process, then is to just take like 10 minutes and then piece of paper, and a pencil and write that down and say, I
Mhm.
do this, I do this, I do this, I do this.
My guess is most people don't have a process, they do it different every time. Just a guess, knowing myself that I'm not
Yep.
much different than most of everyone listening. Okay, that's great. So let's go back. You said stop prioritizing new leads over existing business. You need to create a follow-up structure, which is we just kind of outlined, which is great. What else do you have for us?
Yeah. So then the third thing, and this kind of underlies everything for all those other things to work. I probably should put it as almost number one, but
Mhm.
without the mindset,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But is poor data management and disorganized contacts.
Right.
That's the third reason why businesses don't go back to their existing clients, because it takes them so long just to look at one contact and figure out
Yeah.
what's going on with them.
I have a theory that, a lot of the shift that's happening with AI and all of the valuations of these software companies dropping in the market, I think it's not because specifically that AI is taking over the software. I think there is some of that. It's automating some stuff and shifting that away. But I think it's that for so long, these SaaS companies, they sold all these user seats and all the features and everything. And I think one, these companies that bought these platforms aren't fully utilizing them, and all their data is completely disorganized, and so they're not getting. It's more of a chore to use it. It's become more of a chore than um, it should be, and so I
Oh,
think most people are
100%.
in that seat of like bad data management.
Yeah, and to throw us again, just from a research standpoint, so Landbase did a study. So 40% of CRM data becomes obsolete every single year. And then 80% of companies report their CRM data is accurate, and 70% of revenue leaders lack confidence in their own customer data.
Yeah.
Like, that is the vast majority of every business out there. And then the only other thing that I'll throw out there, because we have this conversation a lot, because and you and I, we're a lot of times we're dealing with smaller businesses
Hmm.
and things like that sometimes, and they underestimate how much time and energy and effort it takes to do even decent data management.
Yes.
Like, they're like, oh, I can handle it on my own, and then they start getting into it and like, oh my gosh, this is taking all my time. Or they try to hire someone, but they can't really give good directions because they don't have any good structure to it,
Yeah.
and it gets even messier and messier and more frustrating for them.
Now, do you have any practical tips on, better, more healthier data management?
Yes. So I'm not done with it yet. I have my basic course and my intermediate course complete for data management,
Mhm.
but that's one area, and I'll give a couple tips from that. But one thing I'll say, if you don't mind, is, and if anyone that's listening to this wants free access to the course, I'll throw out
Yes, of course.
a form them to have, because I plan on making a paid course down the road, but right now I want to get it out to quite a few people to
Yeah.
go through it and be like, I actually now understand at least some basics about data management. But in a couple of pieces of advice that are simple from that standpoint, is one, the biggest thing is determining what the technical term is fields that you want,
Mhm.
but what information you are actually going to do something with.
Mhm.
So, for example, everyone, we know we need their name. We know we need their some way to communicate with them, their email,
Mhm.
their phone number. But things like if you're in the insurance space, well, collecting policy information
Mhm.
and putting it into the CRM, if you don't have a plan to use that in any capacity, is a waste of time of collecting and making sure you put it into the CRM.
Right.
If you're not going to go into your data and be like, okay, here's their policy number, or I'm going to send out an email that has their policy number or anything like that,
Mhm.
then that is a wasted activity that you think is important, because knowing their policy numbers is
Yeah.
important. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be adding that information and bogging down the system. So think of only the things that you need, only the data that you're actually going to use in some way, shape, or form, either for your sales reps, for yourself, in an automation, in an email you're going to send out, whatever it is, and only put that information. That's one big thing that I would tell everyone.
Okay. I think most people approach it like, more data is better because we might use it.
Yes. But if you're a small business and you're the one that has to collect that data and
Yeah.
organize it, time versus effort, time
Yeah.
and what it produces is it's not worthwhile. I mean,
Right.
one of the businesses I worked with literally had, when they first came in, they were coming from another CRM. They had 162 fields,
Hmm.
and they
That's a
had
lot.
information on all of them. And I literally asked them, like, okay, before we import all this information, out of this, which do you use on a, like, what are you looking up on a regular
Great
basis?
question. What'd they say?
Oh, they said, I mean, when we boiled it down, it was about
Yeah.
15 fields.
Oh my gosh. I see that proves my theory that these companies, it's like all these bells and whistles and features and all these things. And it's like, yeah, this is great. We could do all this stuff, but we're not even doing, a fraction of what we should be doing, like going back to the network thing
Yep.
in various parts of our business. So it's a pipe dream to think that we're ever going to get to this point of strategically utilizing this data. So why have it all?
Yep.
I mean, what
And
do you need? Name, address, phone number, maybe mailing address,
mhm,
LinkedIn profile,
I
and
mean,
maybe a couple other things, some notes.
yep. So, like, as an example, like, if your plan is to use your CRM to send out birthday reminders, make sure you
Mhm.
grab their date of birth. If
Yeah,
you're going to use, if
if that's your plan,
exactly, but if it's not your plan and you don't have a
or
design
if
behind
you've
it,
done it before. Because if you've
yes,
done it before, then it actually is a good plan,
yep.
not just saying you're going to do it.
And the same thing of what like we talked about with new leads and things like that. It's
Yeah.
we're taught that big data is important. Data is the new oil. Like
Yes.
it's talked about so often. So we think, oh, more is better in that case, but
Uh-huh.
that's only if you're one of the big companies that
Mhm.
has people that literally it is their job to manage that data
Which I
and
think
use. Yeah.
the title is data scientist. It's like a rocket scientist, but they are doing with data. Something
Oh,
like that.
yes, 100%.
That's where you can say at a party and say, "This is not data science," you know? It's not as hard as
Uh,
data science.
there we go.
Okay, that was a bad joke.
Sipping my tea and I've got my pinky up, I'll make sure
Yeah,
I use that phrase.
yeah, exactly. "Oh, you're only a rocket scientist? Try data scientist."
I
Okay.
mean, in some occasions, it's actually pretty. I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty.
oh, no,
Data is
I
crazy.
for real. I've met some of them, and they're very smart.
Yes.
Okay, stop prioritizing new leads, have a follow-up structure that you actually understand is documented and you are using it, and get better at managing your data, which translates to get rid of most of your data because you probably don't
Yes.
need it.
You probably don't.
You know, Elon has a principle he works by, and it's basically like delete everything or delete as much as you can stand to delete until it hurts, until you have a failure and then add back. And I think that applies here with the data. Like you probably only need 10 fields, not 15. So just get rid of everything. It's actually pretty easy to get it back, for the size companies that we're talking about, small to mid market.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And that's the simplest advice is usually the best advice in this case. We're going to use Occam's razor here.
Well, you've done a great job, like breaking down my question of why people don't use their current network. And it's glaringly obvious, and it applies to me as well. It's like we want to go for the new sexy thing. We want to be soaking up as much AI whatever on these reels and think that we're behind. When really all we have to do is shut all that down, get rid of all our data, and go talk to our clients, go talk to the people on our network that we know, our friends and family. And how funny is that you could really build something? I'll tell you a quick story. So,
Mhm.
and I think the timing on this is pretty interesting because over the last, I don't know, month or so, I made it a priority to spend an hour, and ended up being like an hour and a half a day working on intentionally building like a documented and utilized client introduction system. Okay. And this is like not referrals, even though it's kind of what it is, but it's like, I want to ask my clients because, our clients love us, but, we don't want to put a burden on them of any kind. We just want to do really good work for them, and all of that. So, and I can get why agencies don't do this because they're service oriented and all of that. But I said, okay, I'm going to do this and I want to see what result comes from it. So I built this system out where basically we go scrape the network of our clients on LinkedIn, and we parse the data different ways, and then we boil it all down to maybe like 15 to 20 leads, but leads for us.
Mhm.
These are people that they know potentially that they can introduce us to. I did this with one client, and it took them 7 minutes or so to go through the list. And after that time, not only was it valuable to them to have these lead surface from their network to say, oh yeah, I haven't talked to them in a while, I need to reach out to them, this, that, and the other. So it was good for them, funny enough, but it yielded about 14 or 15 new introductions, like warm introductions from my client to their network of people that they think, knowing what we do, could use our service. And I left the meeting thinking, why is it taking me so long? Because that took me maybe 2 weeks of just methodically working on what I thought was a good system that can now be almost fully automated, except for that client interaction.
Yep.
Why did it take me however many years to spend the 2 weeks of 1 hour? We're talking 10 hours of like actual work. And now I have 14 new introductions on my desk. Um,
Out of curiosity,
it's
what
crazy.
what triggered you wanting to do that? Like what was like
Well,
what made you
this,
be all of a sudden I'm gonna allocate an hour a day to
yeah.
that activity?
Well, funny enough, and this is just shows you how weird I am. I that the example I gave you at the beginning about this conference I went to, and how no one said that they were asking for referrals or introductions.
Mm.
I thought that was absurd, and I was one of them. And so I thought to myself, okay, this is the dumbest thing. Like, all of us are sitting around trying to get new ideas, but when the best idea is right in front of us, but we're not using it. It's like, if you want to lose weight, well, just put your shoes on and go for a walk. That's a great start. You
Yep.
know, maybe you do more. Maybe you end up kettlebell swings and you're doing all this stuff. Like, but go for a walk. It's like, I just felt so dumb. So then I said, okay, I'm going to resolve this for myself. And I want to, the conference is coming around in October, and I'm going to go back, and I know he's going to ask the question again. And I want to be one of the people, or maybe the only person that says, I am actually asking referrals. I asked for referrals. I got referrals. That is solved for me, because I don't want to feel like I'm out here chasing this mysterious, lead generation monkey when I have, the golden goose sitting right here. Because if you take what I did with that one client, you start to extrapolate it over other clients and other partnerships and people in my network, back to your point, I would be supremely overwhelmed by the amount of new conversations. It would be hard I couldn't handle it all, like, because we're a pretty small agency.
Yeah.
So it convinced me that I could almost delete everything else I'm doing, like campaign wise, and just focus on the center point.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! That's crazy talk there, Lee.
It's heresy. It's heresy. What marketer would ever want to not do that?
Yup. No. You need multiple strategies and multiple things happening at once. And to your point, that's why the human interaction piece is so important. Going to conferences, meeting people, watching and listening to a podcast like this. There's probably something that, if you're listening to this and there's one actionable item, don't try to do everything. Like, if you can spot one thing, take one actionable item and implement it as soon as possible, and you'll see a shift in your business happen. Like, that's
100%.
That's all it takes.
100%. I do think on the sort of psychological level, it's some level having the courage on 2 points. Like, one, asking, because people like me, like, I'm not good at asking people for things. I'm good at doing things for people, but not asking people for things. So that's one, like, kind of mental hurdle for myself that I have to get over. And then I think just like the courage of, like, okay, I'm going to build something. And when I start building it, okay, I actually have to do it because I'm working on and building it. And it's not fun. It's boring. And I don't want to work on it because it's boring, but I'm going to actually do this, which means I have to commit to it. So I think those two things combined, it sets people back, because they think, well, I'd rather just scroll on Reels, post on LinkedIn, do all this other stuff that doesn't really make me money. And I just was kind of tired of that. So, the answer's there.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm going to go way back real quick. Let's just finish the 3 steps of building a quick follow-up, just so that everyone has that. But number 1 was the trigger. Number 2 is create. Don't make it a whole comment. Create 3 messages for your follow-up.
Okay.
Don't worry about creating a 5-part series or a 10-part series. Just 3 messages. And I would do 2 emails. And if you have their phone number, then do 1 SMS as well, and create the messaging and keep it very simple. Like, if you want to look up some good language, look up Jeremy Miner and his NEPQ strategies. Like, he's really good within that philosophy. But you want to think of how you're going to add value to the conversation. So don't think of you, think of them. What would they want to hear? And it could be as simple as, hey, I know you talked to me about ABC thing about 6 months ago. Is that still something that's a problem for you? Is that still something that you're looking to solve? Or did you get that solved? Like, it could be as simple as that from a text message. And that's
a great message.
That can reactivate the conversation.
I love that.
Yep. And then the third piece is then make sure once you have that, set it up. Like, actually ship it. put it in your CRM, go to Zapier, go to your CRM, use High Level, whatever platform it is that you're using. Most CRMs in this day and age have some type of automation platform built within it. All you have to do is create the trigger, put those 3 messages and put like a wait step in between each one of them, and hit publish and start it, and then it'll start working automatically. That's as simple as it is.
I love it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so then now we're charged with doing this. So I've actually, feel really good because I've started, and I have about, I don't know, maybe an hour or 2 left on finalizing that system, because now that I put it in play, I have to go back and make some tweaks.
And yep.
So I'm feeling pretty good actually leaving this, knowing that that's going to get completed. But for everyone else who doesn't feel good right now, because you're like, yeah, that's me, I need to do something, you need to listen to Nathan. Go get started. Take one thing, take a step, put your shoes on, go on a walk.
100%. And to your point, take one from Lee's page. Of what he did is he allocated an hour a day.
Yes.
Like, don't try to be like, all right, I need to get this done. I'm going to take half of my day tomorrow, because you're going to find things that's going to, like you just.
That's a good point.
I get bored. I got frustrated at it, and then I went to do something else. A little bit of time each day, so it doesn't take up most of your day.
Yeah.
And commit to it for like 7 days, and then see what happens after that 7 days, and what movement you make. Like that'll help tremendously with that.
It's awesome. Great advice. Because you, Nathan. This is amazing. Where do we send people if we want to send them your way?
Yep. So I'm going to give 2 things real quick. So one, because I mentioned the free course, I want to make sure that everyone gets access to it. So just go to liftgrowthsystems.com, and lift is LIFT, and then growthsystems.com. I'll
we'll
have
put
that
that
up and ready for everyone.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then,
okay.
And then if anyone wants to know more about what I do and how I help, like one of the main things that we do is we build AI agents that will do the outreach and qualify clients and things like that. That's our main product. We call it the Authentic Engagement Agent.
Love it.
That is same thing. It's aea.liftgrowthsystems.com. Okay. And you can take a look at that and run it on yourself to see how it works.
It's awesome. Thanks again, Nathan.
Lee, it has been a pleasure, and I'm really excited to hear what happens after you finish those next 2 hours.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, make it a great day.